What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to Cafe LeBlanc podcast. Continuing, Let's Talk Megaten series, where we talk with different content creators on the Megaten persona space. And today we have a special guest here, Lady Virgilia. How are you doing today?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. You guys can just call me Lady, and I heard that Bubble Tea was the one who kind of I heard on your his episode on
Oh,
your
you listen
podcast.
to it.
Like near the end, I was like, oh, cool. Like I appreciate it a lot. So thanks for having
Yeah, he
me.
gave you a shout out, and I realized that after the podcast that I had seen some of your earlier videos, the Persona 3 video, I think, or yeah, I think it's a Persona 3 video that
Oh,
you
that's
did. Like,
cool.
I think it's those maybe like your very first videos in the channel, right?
Yeah, probably because my first like six videos were all like Persona 3 content. They're like super. When I listen back to them, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I used to be so like, I don't know, just nervous sounding. I feel like
Yeah,
compared to now. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, oh, I've come a long way.
It's
I
crazy,
feel
right?
like.
Because you don't think, you don't realize how much you've grown. Like, whenever you do something a lot, like, especially with, like, YouTube stuff and everything, there's always, like, improvement, but you don't really see it until you go back and watch the
Mhm.
earlier stuff. You're like, holy crap, this is really improved so much. But I'm like so self-conscious. I hate listening to myself. I'm to the point that
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm editing videos, I don't even listen to my voice. I mute. I edit everything without like hearing. Sometimes I mute myself
Oh,
to.
really?
Yeah, I just keep track of the time when I'm recording. I'm always looking at the time, and like so I have some time marks in my head as to like so like if in a scene I talk about Devil May Cry or something like that. I keep a mental message in my head, like I just kind of like, okay, so here's where I need to put this part, and then later I go and edit it because I hate listening to myself. I'm like,
Oh wow, that's
oh
crazy.
yeah,
But you only go based on like approximation, like, right? Wow.
yeah.
I like have to there's times where I have to like listen back over and over, and then it sort of bugs me because I'm just like, wow, my audio quality I feel like was not that good for this video, but I'm kind of too lazy to re-record just for that one
Yeah,
part.
honestly,
So
sometimes I'm really lazy. Cause the thing is, like, it annoys me because I will go through great lengths to edit something. I know it's so minimal that nobody's ever even gonna catch it. And sometimes I like it's either
Mhm.
like the video or like the audio, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should like I'm gonna try to like. There was one time where I was recording, and my sister came into a room. She knocked really hard, and she was like, hey, open the door, it's really important." And I'm like, I was in the middle of the recording, but I just kept
Oh
talking,
no.
right? So like going back, I was like, oh man, that was near the end, so I need to record like at least 3 minutes of thing, because otherwise it's gonna sound really like mechanical if I add like 2 words or 3 words. So I was
Mhm.
really annoyed about it, and I went through like so much audio editing just to remove my sister in the background yelling. And I was like, oh man. But then, like, I knew nobody would care. Like, if somebody watched the video with the music, because I put some music in the background, so you can't really hear like the noise in the background. That's why I put music in the first place. Although,
Yeah, it kind of like muffles it a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah. So
the
like,
background noise.
especially like if people are already focusing on your voice, they're not really focusing on the background, right? So that like listening to your voice and whatever you have to say. So I don't think they're like listening to like the background or something, especially like something like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
The
I feel
editing,
like people are pretty like forgiving of like in general of if it's only like here like every once in a while in a
yeah,
video for sure.
yeah,
But it's just like I think it's only when it's like for example if there's background noise like the entire video or
yeah. No,
something is when people are
my
like, dude, please like fix your audio. And like,
right, right.
okay, I'll work on that, you
There was a video, actually my biggest video. My microphone broke, and I didn't know
Oh.
that, so I recorded the entire video, and it was a great video. I was like, man, this is such a good video. It was a comparison video between Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Portable, and 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 it has
Oh.
like the shittiest audio quality. Like it sounds like I grabbed a microphone from like 1997. It's like a really bad sounding microphone, and it's like noise in the background. It's like shh, and like it still has like a lot of noise, and I'm like, oh man, and it has so many views.
Oh no.
It's my most viewed video, and I hate that it is because I feel bad.
I think I've seen that one
Yeah, you've
actually
probably
of
seen it
yours.
pop
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it,
And I was thinking like that reminds me of, yeah, like for one of my videos, like the one that I did on like Akechi, I just feel like, oh, I wish I had better audio too. But it's like darn it. But I
yeah.
think we are definitely our own worst critic,
Yeah,
I think,
I
a
think so
lot of
too. I think so
the
too.
times.
Because sometimes I watch my video and I'm like, oh man, I hate that I said that. Just because I'm silly sometimes. And the worst thing is, I am the kind of person I'll throw in jokes, but they're like so like personal jokes that even joke wouldn't get past them or anything, because it's just like a pun. I like to think of like puns, but they're like not even good puns. They're like really bad puns. So
Dude, I like all the puns, like cheesy puns, like good puns, the
yeah,
like try hard puns. I'm like all for them.
yeah. So like
I love cheesy humor.
so like sometimes, and I know like nobody comments on them, so like I know like no probably nobody even got the like I made a joke or a reference, or sometimes I'll say like things backwards. I have a Persona Royal video, and there's a part where I say uh what do I say? Is kill one stone with two birds or something like that, and
Oh,
it's backwards, right? Uh, and
and no one
no,
comments
no, no,
on
no.
that, like
There's
in the
one
comments.
person that commented it, and he was, "Oh, Persona 4 Royal is such a good game that he that he doesn't just kill birds; he kills stones." And it was like the funniest comment. I don't know if I pinned it, but I wanted to pin it, so I'm like, man, I love this. I love this comment so much because
Oh man. If you haven't pinned it already, like that now's your reminder to pin it
yeah,
now.
I'm like,
That's such
now
a
I'm
good
out to.
comment.
Yeah, it's such a good comment. There's like the one person, like nobody comments on it. The people will comment on things like my accent or just like about because it's a tips video. Every most
Uh-huh.
comment I ask, I'm like, hey, if you have other tips, comment down below and tell people and everything, other tips. Just those videos are more like hoping to people have an easy time, but like people that never played a
Mhm.
Persona game, or like a Shin Megami Tensei game, it like really throws you off because it's a very special kind of game. So like I try to do these helpful videos for like beginners and everything, and then like people sometimes you have
Yeah, that's nice.
a very specific problem, and you need a very specific answer. So like sometimes people will comment like their own experiences and like where they get stuck, or a lot of them. That whole comment section is literally just helping people with their with like whatever they stock, or like sometimes people are like they I think they see the game a lot of like the social aspect, like the social links and everything like
Mhm.
that. So a lot of them want to, I think, see it more like a visual novel. Is that a visual novel? A
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's a lot more focused on
yeah.
like
So like
the
a lot of them.
route or
Yeah,
something
yeah. So a lot of
of a
them think
character.
that like, oh man, I want to collect all, like get all the confidence and stuff like that, and like they get stuck or like they ask a lot of questions. So it's really nice. I actually love answering questions about the game. Like whenever somebody comments, and like especially like the older games, like I did one for Persona 3, and that one gets a lot of comments. So like people that get stuck or people
Yeah,
that
that's awesome.
yeah, it's
For
like the
sure.
most fun, like because I think like a lot of people like talk about like um what would you call it? Like
Like the
how toxic the no no no,
story
like
of
people talk about like the Persona fans
oh, like the
like the toxic.
fandom,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of thing. Like the
and
fandom and the community is so toxic, like that kind of thing
yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
time. I get you.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But over here, like in the comments, you don't see that. You just see like people like being so nice to each other, like helpful, like they give each other tips and everything.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's cool. It's
awesome.
awesome just to see like people helping each other and everything. Although sometimes it's hard to get things because of spoilers and everything. So sometimes like people will
Oh,
comment a
yeah.
spoiler. I'm like, you should not comment that because
I know, like, I
yeah,
feel a lot of people assume that, like, these new players
yeah,
already, like, technically been spoiled already anyway, but it's just like, no, not
yeah. It's
everybody.
so
There's a lot
rude.
of new people who are, like, still completely blind to, like, Persona 3 or, like, one of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
old
exactly, exactly.
games.
Especially on my channel because a lot of the time, with the people that I get because I do this kind of videos, I get a lot of kids and like people that are literally just starting Persona. So I'll get a lot of
Mhm.
like the newer, a famed fan base, like. So I get a lot of the new
Younger
people. Yeah,
kids, a
like
little
I get the
bit,
people
yeah.
from like. Super Smash Bros. Like I literally know seen so many comments about like that they find about Persona because of Super Smash Bros. And I'm like, that's a younger generation kind of thing. I think so.
Yeah, I
Like
think so
younger
too.
guys and everything. But on the other hand, I also do get like a like older guys that have like kids and everything. So I'm like the very spread out. But it's cool. I love like there's so many people with like so many different ideas and everything. So yeah, I love it. But about
Yeah.
yourself and about how you started your channel. You're newer on the YouTube space, right? How long have you been doing YouTube for?
Yeah, I guess for the most part, as in, like, I don't have, because I feel like a lot of the creators for, I don't know, like, at least Megaten, or, well, maybe not like a lot. I don't know. I just think of people like Fither or something. Like, they've been around for, like,
Right, for a
a
minute, right?
lot of
Yeah,
years now.
yeah.
Yeah. And, like, meanwhile, I've done this for about, oh, wait, no, shit. Now that I think about it, wait, this is technically almost 3 years for me since like my first video.
So was it
But
like
like,
in 2018?
yeah, I would say about, yeah, it was like November, I think, of 2018. So yeah,
Holy
that's
crap!
like,
You
yeah,
started
that's
at the
really
same time
soon.
as I did. In
Yeah,
November,
oh
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
That's like right. Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
I think it was the last week of November or something when I
Yeah.
started.
So for me, it was there was a game. I don't know if you know it. It's Fallout 76. Have you?
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember hearing all the stuff about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that game was coming out. I was like, I need to talk about this because it's so bad. I just need to get it out of my chest.
And then you open the conversation for everyone else, right? Who also, like, I just remember, like, there was just so much conversation about that game.
Yeah, it was like it was crazy. That's one of the games when I ever see that I'm like, man, uh, I hope that a Megaten game doesn't get to that point where like everybody's talking about it because it's like it's cool, but it's also overwhelming because not everybody plays that game, right? So a lot of people
Hmm.
are looking to kind of like shit on the game because they don't like it or they don't know it. So I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Like um, there was another game recently, Cyberpunk 2077, and that game
Oh,
also
yeah.
had like a lot
Well,
of controversy, but it was like a real wild roller coaster. Um, yeah, those kind of stuff are it's kind of
mhm.
exciting, but at the same time it's kind of weird. Like every few months there's like some kind of thing going on
Yeah.
in
I
the
feel
gaming
like a
world.
lot of those, like, huge, like, AAA games with their, like, really big studios, a lot of the times, like, doing those games, I just feel like I don't know. I feel like in comparison, Atlas is still so like
Small.
niche, like small as a
Yeah, yeah.
company, even if they're like a lot more well known now, like with Persona
Yeah, right,
5 and like
right.
Joker and like yeah, like in Smash and then like a lot of other collabs,
Hmm.
like in like other mobile games and stuff, like
Right.
all of that stuff that it's just it's like I feel like people know the name Persona and they like
Yeah.
recognize Joker the character,
Hmm.
but I still feel like Atlas is like way more niche compared to like the like wait, who did Cyberpunk? It's the same studio as The Witcher, right?
Right. What the hell is it called? Oh man.
Something Red?
Uh, something red. Yeah, you're right. It's something red.
Oh,
Um,
CD Project
CD
Red.
Projekt Red.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a crazy thing, but I think the thing is, CD Projekt Red was actually a pretty small company too, but The Witcher 3 was literally their Persona 5. Because before then, nobody
But
knew
like
about.
in an even huger scale than just Persona 5,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, like it
because
just
so
launched
imagine like
globally.
it just launched at a massive, like it did crazy numbers, and I think that's what it was. That's just what it is. Like imagine being a small developer and then you make a game, it gets a big hit, like the dream, but then like you get investors, it grows a really big company. There's a lot of people investing in your company now, and I guess like I think that's what
Yeah,
happened.
that's
'Cause
crazy.
yeah, a lot of people have been bringing up From Software, from the
Oh
Dark
yeah.
Souls game. Also because it's also like they always being their own thing. They always do their own thing, but like pretty much the games that they have released, they're all being like fairly successful. And like although now they're like a much bigger company, they're still pretty much their own thing, and I respect that a lot. They haven't had a bad
Yeah.
game. Like I know some people have differences about the Dark Souls games and everything, but I don't think they're bad games. I think they're really good.
Yeah, like I feel like from what I've heard for like all the like Dark Souls and also like they also did Sekiro, right?
Right? Yes, it's also so good. I love that
Yeah.
game.
So I feel like, yeah, in comparison to, for example, like the CG the like Cyberpunk or like Fallout
Yeah, yeah,
76, like even if there's people like if I'm correct about this because I haven't played like Dark Souls 2 or 3, but
yeah.
like I know that not everyone likes Dark Souls 2,
That's
but
still the fact.
but
But
people won't, but I haven't heard like people necessarily call it like a bad game in the way like Fallout
right,
76
exactly.
is going to be, right? Like it was still an actual like game. Like it wasn't like full of bugs and
Yeah, the
just like
game was
kind of
literally falling
unplayable.
apart while you were. I remember playing the beta, and I literally the game was falling apart as I was walking. The entire buildings were disappearing, or like something was happening to the floor. At one
God.
point, a zombie tried to grab me, and I shot him, but his body fell, but his head didn't, so he stayed floating in the air.
Oh, what?
And then, not only did that happen, the zombie still was alive. He turned invisible. He was chasing me and hitting me.
Oh
And I was like, I
gosh.
didn't know where he was coming from, and he wasn't killing me because he was so low leveled. So I was literally running around, shooting everywhere, and it was like I was not hitting the zombie, and I died, and he glitched,
Yeah.
and it was crazy. It was insane. I was like, man, this game is cannot be done because the game was coming out in like a month or something. So I was like, the game is not gonna be
That's like
done.
awful. Yeah, because at that point it really should be just like finished at that point.
Right,
like
right.
a month
Like a month,
before it ships.
it's
Yeah.
a month. Like the game's already packed and ready to go. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like it's just okay, we're shipping them now. You know, like
yeah, yeah. Like
that
a
kind of
month is
stage.
nothing. Like there's literally nothing that can be done in that month. It's probably gonna be done in like a DLC, day one update or whatever.
Yeah, like one of those day one
Yeah, yeah.
patches or something.
Always happens. That's
That's so
crazy.
awful though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
when like you pay up front like like $60 for a game and you're just how did it it's so bad like in a lot of recent years for I think a lot of
Yeah,
bigger developers or
yeah,
yeah, like it's just the game ships in like it's not finished. It's just not finished at all.
yeah. No, for sure. It's insane, honestly. But as far as your channel goes, because I went in an off tangent about all this,
No
but
worries. I do that all the time too. So
oh yeah, yeah.
sorry about
No,
that
no,
too.
that's great. That's great. I just remembered. I was like, wait, what were we talking about? Your channel, yeah. So how did you get started in the YouTube space? Like, what was your trigger point?
For me, it was like I was having like a lot like I guess long story short was just like I was having a lot of health problems at the time. Like I have like a this like neurological disease that
Oh,
kind
sorry
of
to hear.
just makes it yeah, thank you. It's just it makes it kind of really unpredictable like my energy and also like I struggle with a lot of like mobility issues.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's
okay.
like sometimes hard to like walk or sit in certain ways and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
on certain days. So it's just like I guess at that point in my life, like I felt very like isolated. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought I was watching a lot of YouTubers just talk about how one of the things they like a lot of, you know, like video essayists kind of
Oh, yeah,
people in
yeah,
like
yeah.
I would say in more of like the anime space at that
Like,
time. They were
who?
talking about, I guess like, what are their names? Like Alexander Xer. He does like a lot of Hunter x Hunter stuff originally, but he does a lot of other anime too.
That's
Like
cool.
he likes to do like analyses on the themes and everything. And I guess like literally like Nux Taku before he got really
Yeah.
before he got really big.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was like when they were all like a lot of those people were all really like still I think around either like the 50,000 like
Mm-hmm.
to a
Yeah,
100,000
yeah.
range. And I just heard I don't know, they were talking about how a lot of these creators were talking about how like one thing they like really like appreciate or are grateful about like when it comes to YouTube is that like it allowed them to meet a lot of people who have also the same interests they do, right? Because like it's
Right,
kind of
right.
it's hard to find like just
Yeah.
the average like oh you love Persona and SMT too like on the
Yeah,
street kind
yeah.
of person. And so I was just thinking like whoa that sounds so cool and I feel like you know I want to give it a shot and I have
Right,
you know
right.
some time to do it. And so yeah, like that first I guess like year I was on YouTube, I was just really really in it for the most part just to like literally make friends at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah. And then I got to meet all these awesome like creators from because I also do like a lot of trails content, like the trail series. So I
Oh,
met a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah.
from there too.
Yes, I saw some of
And
your videos. I know nothing about trails. We have to talk about it though. But continue.
yeah. Maybe I can like shill it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
um,
Maybe you can finally convince
yeah.
me to play the games.
Yeah,
I
I
find that
think
scary. There's a lot of games.
yeah, it's definitely like I understand like the reservations people have about getting into the series because it's like there's such a big like I guess barrier to entry
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's like a continuous story.
exactly.
Like it's not like Persona where it's like Persona 3, Persona 4, like they're standalone games, even though there's like, you know, little references or
Right,
like
right, right.
that one little scene that like is a throwback or something. But Trails is like very much I understand that it can be very difficult to like get your foot in the door. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
see it and
yeah,
I'm like,
so
oh man, I get a little scared. But yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. So continue.
yeah, so like I guess just like that whole first year in particular, I was just like going at it just as more of like a first to make friends and also as like a hobby because I just found that I really did enjoy just like creating content like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
like
yeah.
doing analyses content, like doing the Persona 3 and like, oh, it's kind of cool to see the symbolism of the like
Yeah, yeah,
mythological
yeah. I
like
actually have a video idea. I kind of
personas, right? Yeah.
yeah.
And so, oh no, yeah, go ahead.
I think we cut off I think there was like a cut off there. Continue. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. So, and so like after going at it for like a good bit, like I think a year in, I realized like, you know what? To be honest, like this would be really great to for me to be able to like do eventually, like to I guess support myself fully at some point, just because like just finding like regular employment has been kind of hard for me like ever since I was like diagnosed about it's like 6 years ago
Oh
now.
wow.
So like
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
doing yeah, so I've been doing like I'm very very like blessed fortunate to have like my aunt who does sort of similar work that I'm like technically qualified to do. So like I sort of freelance for her at the moment as sort
Oh,
of kind of
cool,
like a
cool.
gig leader. Yeah, like a
Uh-huh.
gig or contract kind of person. But
Yeah.
like it's just one of those things where I hope at the end, like of the day, like I can get to a point where it's like I'm able to like do, you know, like YouTube and streaming and all that
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like on
exactly.
my own just because like the flexibility of the schedule is
Yeah,
so
it's
helpful
so
for
good,
some of
right? Right, yeah,
my
yeah. I
yeah,
totally know what you mean, yeah. And I
yeah.
know, like, for example, when I started YouTube, I was doing YouTube every day. So I had a daily video.
Oh my
So, like,
gosh, that's so hard. That's so much work.
and mind you, I work a 9 to 5 job. So, like, I'm busy the
Oh, that's
entire time.
crazy.
Um,
Yeah, you have no free time.
Yeah, yeah. So like a lot of my time goes toward. Used to go towards like making the videos and everything, and I did that for 2 years. I recently just stopped doing 5 videos a week. It wasn't that long ago, but yeah, I was just kind of getting tired of doing that and everything. I was like, I don't know, like the views are okay still. So although that took a toll on like the viewership too, like it went down a lot. But obviously,
Mm,
like I was doing daily
yeah.
videos, so but yeah, I just enjoyed and I had a lot of ideas when I first started the channel. I had a notebook full of ideas, like short videos, like five. My goal was to make 5 to 10 minute videos that were either like discussions or news or like ideas that I just have in my head. Because I'm like a very peculiar person. I keep ideas in my head. I'm like, oh man, that would be a cool thing to talk about. Like for
Mhm.
no reason, I just want to discuss it or something. So a lot of the stuff was
Oh,
like
that's so cool.
so like
Yeah.
I have like so many. I had a lot of discussion videos for like Persona and everything. I stopped doing that, but I want to continue doing that. It's just like Persona 5, Royal Strikers, and like Shin Megami Tensei 3, and then Shin Megami Tensei 5. It's like so many news and everything. So I get like
Yeah.
I get caught up on that, and I'm like, I mean, I need to think of my discussion videos and everything. But I love your Persona discussion stuff. You have some very interesting content. The psychological stuff that you discuss, and
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that
I
kind of stuff.
really enjoy.
I literally been thinking about doing a similar video. I'll tell you a little bit in a second. But I really I like your content. Like I really do. It's like the informational type, but also has like a side of like a discussion to it. You present your arguments
Yeah,
and
I like
everything.
to
So
open it up a little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
for like
So
the whole community. Yeah. Like I heard from the like bubble tea episode that like you graduated in like psychology, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I feel like yeah, I think because technically like I graduated in social work, but like
Oh yeah,
we
nice.
we also like have a very like strong like we need to understand like like psychology and stuff
Hmm.
too for our clients, so like
Hmm.
i I can see why like oh we have similar like interests or kind of like thought
Yeah, yeah.
yeah like tastes in that kind of content.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. I
Mhm.
love like philosophy videos or like psychology, and I like sometimes I'm like, oh man, I really want to do a video on like psychology or like a philosophy thing, and I'm like, I really should, but then I'm like, I get tired because I'm like, I have to like write it down, and I want it to be like very accurate. Because sometimes I haven't done like any academic work in like a few years
In a
now since I
while.
graduated from
Mhm.
college. So like I'm like it's not like I'm actively just like reading a new study on whatever they did this month or whatever. I used to keep up with that stuff, but like because I really wanted to go get my master's on psychology and eventually
Mhm.
like practice and everything. So that was the plan at the time. And then I'm like, oh man, like I'm keeping up with this and I really don't feel like it. I no longer do
Mhm.
psychology for work. So like I have nothing in my life that is psychology related other than like watching
Oh,
videos on
wow.
YouTube and like just like seeing like what people like the ideas that people get and applying things like psychology or philosophy in like a video format is great because it's like it gives you a window of like a different view of like a game and everything. So you perceive things different. Everybody does.
Yeah, for sure.
So I found a lot of interesting theories or like understanding to like the way that a game ends, for example, or like the way that things happen. And people interpret them very differently, and everybody's point of view is very
Mhm.
interesting. So to me, like watching discussion videos that are more like on that kind of stuff, I feel like it has a lot of merit to it.
Yeah, for sure. I really love like there's a lot of times where people bring up things in like the comments where yeah, like I never considered it like that way or like I never like noticed like something or like I never put two and two together for
Yeah,
something
yeah,
else, and so it's just
yeah,
like it's really interesting to be like oh my gosh like that's really cool, like thank you for like sharing that with me like
yeah.
to that person whatever, because I'm just like otherwise I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, yeah.
um
Everybody has like such interesting ideas and everything. So, uh,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it's definitely interesting to see how other people see or view things differently from you. Because sometimes when you may see a certain direction, it may be like a completely different deal for them. Um, Very
Mhm.
interesting.
For sure. Oh, but like that must have been kind of like such a like whiplash for you from like doing, because like when you're studying, you are doing that like every day, right? And then
Right,
you get
right.
to the point where it's like after you graduate and if you're not working in that field anymore, it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like where, like
Yeah.
I
What
don't,
am I doing?
I'm not connected to it at all. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I kind of get that feeling in a way
Hmm.
too when I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm not exactly like in the same, I guess, like field ish of
Yeah.
like, so I do think social work is very like broad as a field, but even then I just feel like, yeah, compared to what I guess like what I went in like thinking in my head like what I was gonna do or like what I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be,
I
like
know
it's way
exactly what you
different
mean.
now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
This is something that's only some people will experience. Not 100%. I think when people go into a career, and this goes for everybody listening. Uh, when you think of a career, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna be doing this because like you have very. I think movies like movies, TV shows, books. They kind of put a perspective of what a job is supposed to do or like or a career does.
Yeah.
So in your mind you're like, oh well, I'm gonna do this, like this. It's very clear cut. This is all I've seen in movies and TV shows and writing books. This is what happens. And you get to the job and it's like a completely different thing. And even when you're studying, you really have no idea how that works. It's like
Mhm.
you only get so much from like studying, with aside of like actually doing the job, because
Mhm.
it's not like,
Yeah.
yeah, especially with things like psychology, because like the first 4 years of college, it's like not going to like your actual thing. It's literally just learning about all these different types of psychology and what they do, kind of like giving you kind of like an introduction of that particular field of psychology. So a
Yeah,
lot
for
of them are
sure.
just like, okay, so this is this type of psychology, and this is this, and like different, all these different schools of thought of psychology. And it's really weird because psychology is, you think it's like any other science, but there's a lot of guessing involved in it, because you can't,
Mhm.
you can really, I mean, you can check the vitals of the, like, the body. You can check the temperature, you can see the changes, but when it comes to the brain, it's not like you can't really know what's going on in the brain, right?
Yeah,
You can't,
it's
read their
like the
mind or
human
anything.
nature
Yeah,
aspect
so
of
like,
like the brain, which
yeah.
is just like it makes it so much more variable, I
Yeah,
feel.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like, there's no way that they will ever be able to figure it out how like everything on the brain works, because
Mhm.
it's literally impossible to know. So it's a really interesting, like, there's all these different thoughts of like how psychology is approached, or like certain things, like some things like having to take medicine for something like some psychotic
Uh-huh.
disorder, or some like
Yeah.
bipolar disorder, or something I'm not sure, have to take a medicine. And then some people are like, okay, well, you can also get better if you do this or this or this or this or this. But who knows, some things never work for anybody. Sometimes things
Mhm.
work for some people, medicine works for some people. It's so many variables. It's like so hard to
For
put in.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because like it also doesn't account for like people's like just their own like by nature like their personality and how like they tend to look, I guess, at things or like experiences
Mm.
in the way where like
Yeah.
people who are
Well,
a little bit more like neurotic, for example,
yeah, yeah.
right?
So,
Or
so
like
that's actually
are
something
anxious.
that what you mentioned just now is actually the most debated thing in psychology, which is how we are as people, if we grew this way or were we born this way. It's like the one must discuss subject in psychology. Like, to this day, there's so many
Mhm.
debates as far as
For
like
sure.
which one is it, which one's the other one. And it's like a thing that you study for so many years. For no, I don't know. I don't really care too much. Like, I'm like, I feel like it's obvious there's a combination of both.
Yeah,
But
that's the fascinating part to
mhm.
me is that like everyone always does the whole like yeah, the stereotypical like is it nature or nurture debate and it's just
Right.
like it's both. Yeah, like it's
Right.
just
It's
it's
both.
both.
Yeah, it's both. There's obvious.
Yeah.
You can obviously see things that sometimes can only be explained as genetical, right? But there are some things that you obviously see. Okay, this person was grown in this environment, and this is how how they developed and everything. It's just
Like this is
interesting,
how they learn like what is normal, like
right?
what they learn to like normalize in their daily life, you know. So it's yeah, it's like it's just it's so different. And yeah, it's so interesting how like you can learn about the studies where like they will have people literally like all the same group of people
Yeah,
observing the same exact scene, but then when they ask them like what happened, it's like entirely different
you're
answers.
right. Exactly. Everybody has
Yeah, and
like
you're
their
just
own
like,
point of view and
wait,
everything.
they were in the same
They
room
were in the
together
same.
and they're
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
the
yeah.
scene.
It's
uh,
crazy, right? It's crazy, and then you see that in real life. Like whenever I see like a comment on like a Persona 5 fan or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, did you even play the game?" And they're like, "Yeah, I played the game or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, they played the game. They just interpreted the scene differently."
for
Everybody perceives
sure.
it in like a different way, I guess. Um, so it's really interesting. That stuff, it's stuff that I just like to like read about and everything, just
Same,
in
yeah.
general.
Like I know some people will call it like I do understand like there is a certain amount of like I don't think like comments that are like outright like personally attacking someone
Yeah,
or people are
mm,
like helpful, but like I feel like sometimes people view like, oh, these people are like fighting in the comment section because they're just discussing someone but
mm,
something, but like to me I'm just like, no, they're just having like a they're just discussing different opinions, but they're not being like mean or rude about
aggressive.
it,
Yeah,
you
you're not
know?
being
Like
aggressive or anything. Yeah,
yeah, like it's not aggressive. So it's just funny how some people will view that as like, oh my gosh, I hate this like fandom. Why can't you just like everything? And then the other people, the other side is like, oh, I hate everything. And then it's just the
yeah.
nice thing is that like I think most people, I think the vast majority of people like thankfully are able to see that there are both like good stuff and like flaws, right? In the
I,
game.
I,
So
I,
yeah.
I say, yeah, yeah. Let's put it there. Yeah, sure, sure. uh, no, I mean, that's the funny thing. I think it's okay to admit that not every game is perfect, and I think like there's no perfect game, right?
Yeah, I would
Every
agree with
game
that.
has flaws, and you may be able to see those flaws. Some people not, because I think there's also this I guess this thing about you, like how you like we're talking about like how you grew up and everything. Some things resonate with you better than other things, and like everybody
Hmm.
may like the one thing, but you look at it, you're like, oh man, I actually don't like it, or like it's just like it's just nature, like that's just how you are, like everybody has like the specific taste and everything. So some people may
Yeah,
look like a
for
Persona
sure.
5, I'm like, oh, they love the dating sim, and then some people look at the Persona 5, I'm like, why is there a dating sim in this game?
Exactly.
So like,
Yeah.
although it's the running joke, but it's real. Like, everybody just has like such wildly different reasons why they like a game, and yeah, it very
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, that actually that like brings me to like one of the things that I guess is like one of the most discussed things when it comes to like the Trails games at least is that
Yeah,
like its latest arc, like the most recent arc it just finished of like 4 games, it introduced like the thing called like the bonding system, which is like in a way sort of like what Persona's like social links or confidant is sort of. And so
yeah.
like there's people out there who like love the arc way more because it has that, and then there's other people who are just yeah, who are just like, this is the worst thing that happened to the series. So it's just like, yeah, exactly. Like there's people out there who like that's their favorite arc, and a
Mm,
big part of it is because they added the bonding system.
yeah.
And then
So what
yeah,
about
and
you?
then the other way.
What do you think?
Me personally,
Yeah.
I feel like it I feel like The thing about the bonding system that bothers me the most is that what happened is that the company, like Falcom, they
Yeah.
make it impossible to see all of the events in like one playthrough.
Oh, just
Like
like
you
Persona. You have to
Yeah,
do
well,
multiple
but I mean,
playthroughs.
like, it's not even like possible because, like, you know how like Persona games, like, you could technically like do all the social like it's very very difficult, but you can still technically do it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. If you know how to
do
play
all
the
the
game, yeah,
social links. Yeah,
yeah.
like if you have experience, but like Falcom, like what they did with like the Cold Steel arc is that they give you like this thing called bonding points like every part of the game that opens up to like, oh, this is like a free time where you get to like spend time with like your friends, whatever. They give you a certain number of bonding points, but there will be more opportunities, as in like more people there in your party who have an event
Oh,
than you have bonding points.
oh, I see, I see, I see.
Yeah,
So it's
and like
literally impossible to achieve unless like
yeah,
you
like you
cheat
just
and have
literally can't do
more
it. And
bonding
like
points.
yeah, and like some people will say things like, "But you can just save before and just reload." And I'm like, "But you know, like it's not the
Yeah, it's
same."
not the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
the collector in you, the overachiever, the person saying, "I gotta collect them all on one single run, or it doesn't count."
Yeah, or just basically like because the games are so long, like
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't want to replay like an entire game just to watch like six other bonding events. You know, like that kind of thing. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
I don't want to replay like 80 hours just for that.
yeah. You know,
I guess I'll go watch YouTube, I guess, but
yeah. That's what I have to do with a lot of the Megaten games, though. That's the same thing, because you can only get one ending at a time. You know, so obviously you have to choose between what ending you want to get, and sometimes the
for the SMT games.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like sometimes you have like so many choices to do in the game that you have to really think like how you want to guide your character through like the law, chaos, or neutral, because your answers and your the stuff that you say matter in the game. So like
Mhm.
it guides you through like a different kind of ending depending on what your choices has been or like whatever you have chosen so far. And
Yeah, makes
yeah,
sense.
in fact, I believe in SMT4, for example, even the quests that you do have the part of them all are part of the point system as well. So like you start like leaning more towards one or the other, even without like meaning to, just like from doing quests and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's the cool stuff that I like about SMT. Although I think that it could be it's a little bit rigid in some games. That it's very obvious that they are trying to get you to like make a choice. But in other games, it's like way smoother.
Hmm.
Like when it's
Mhm.
like, okay, do you want to choose red or blue? You know, like oh, so
Yeah,
yeah,
like they
good
make
or
it
evil. You know, like
super
so
obvious. Like,
yeah,
do you
exactly.
want to kill this person or not? What should we do? And
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
oh,
And
who
then
would?
some.
I get you.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's like you cannot tell like, oh, was that a choice? And then turns out being like a very important thing. So you're like, oh man, even in Persona 1 that happens where they don't tell you that you can only invite one more party member. But
Yeah.
there's
Oh
like a
my
bunch of other
gosh,
party
that's
members.
so
Yeah.
true.
So like see if you don't know, then you get this person in your party, and then you're like, okay, you missed out on these other characters you could have met, because
Yeah,
like,
that's so funny because like LOL, like that's actually I still have to play Persona 2, but
yeah,
like I played Persona 1 like the Sebek route, and it's just like it's it's just so crazy how yeah, like everyone was telling me like, "Oh, no Reiji." And I was like, "What do you mean? Who is Reiji?" And then they're just like I think you missed him. So I literally restarted my game because I was like, who? Like, what character? And so I was
Yeah,
like, oh, this is such a convoluted way to
yeah,
get
yeah,
him into your party.
yeah.
I would not know this without a guide.
Yeah,
Like, who?
exactly,
How are you
exactly.
supposed to know this?
Yeah, what's the point of doing that? You know, like that you have no way of knowing unless you look it up. That is like that's such a '90s thing. You know, like when you have to get in the
Yeah.
magazine and like have to look through them. I used to buy books for that kind of stuff.
I
For
guess
Final
that was the
Fantasy.
point of
Yeah,
like selling the guide, right? Because didn't they also
yeah,
used to sell guides for
yeah.
like all the
Exactly,
games
exactly.
every
Yeah.
time? So,
Yeah, you buy
ugh.
the guide, you get stuck somewhere, you're like looking for the guide, and this is way even before the internet, so like you have to like go to a store and like try to find a guide for the game and everything. I
Oh
don't,
man,
yeah,
I remember
yeah,
those early days. Yeah.
yeah. Honestly,
Wow.
that's like to me. I see that I'm like, man, the world has come so far. I can cheat on a game by just buying like I don't even have to look things up anymore. I can just buy a
Mhm.
DLC for and get an extra life of whatever. Like this,
Exactly.
yeah. So like you don't even have to play the game anymore.
Legit.
Yeah,
I feel that.
you're like okay, it was whatever. Yeah. So games have changed a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were talking about the Trail series. So which one is your favorite? Like, I know there's a lot.
Ooh,
Like,
is a good question. Yeah, like, oh man, maybe I should like do a really short like explanation for just in case
yeah,
like any of you
somebody's
who are
gonna go
listening, yeah, like
come at you.
have not aren't familiar with the Trail series. Well, like the Trail series, it's called Kiseki in Japan, in Japanese. It's just like it's a long like a single continuous like story in the sense where they are developing this continent called Zemuria, and it's all set like in basically around the same time period. So it's like, for example, from its first game that started it, called Trails in the Sky FC, that started in like 1203, and then like in its latest game, like Kuro no Kiseki, we are now in like 1208. So only like 5 years like have like gone, like have passed since like the start of the games here, like games, even though there has been to this day
That's really interesting.
11 games. There's 11 games out
11
now.
games. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
don't
man,
let that. Yeah, don't let that like dissuade you guys though.
that's
Okay, because there are different starting points that you can start in and
that
feel
that, that
comfortable.
that's what everybody keeps telling me. But I'm still like, I see it. I'm like, no, 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 no. Because like me, I'm the kind of person that once gets hooked in a series, I have to play every game ever. So like, I'm gonna want to go back and play them, and I don't really have the time for that anymore. Like, what is the yeah? I just don't.
It's a very good experience though.
How long is every game? Like the average length of the game?
Like the first three, so like there's the Sky trilogy, followed by the Crossbell duology, and then the Trails in the of Cold Steel, like quadrology, so 4 games. The first 3 games, the Sky trilogy, those games are not as long. Like the first game, Sky FC, I would say is around like 60, 50, 60, like is pretty much the max. Like I know people who have finished it faster than that.
Oh,
And
really?
like yeah. So it's like your average, I would say, JRPG length, because I feel like the average JRPG nowadays is around like 40 to like 60 hours, right?
Yeah, I think that's the nice length for like any good RPG. Like that,
Yeah.
that's a decent amount of time that is gonna keep you entertained, and that's a decent amount of time that they're probably gonna, like you're not gonna regret later. Like when you look at a Persona
Mhm.
5 Rojo, I'm like, oh, 300 and something hours. I'm like, oh no.
I mean, wait, how long did it take you?
No, it's like I did two runs. The second run was the one where
Oh,
I'm trying to
okay.
do every single thing in the game. Like
Like a complete
yeah, like a
completion,
complete,
100%
exactly.
completion.
Yeah, exactly. So like I look at that one,
Oh
and that one
man,
took
that's
me time
crazy.
because I had to be specific on my choices and everything. Like I'm trying to get this right and everything. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Because I get you. Like, even just that one playthrough alone of Royal, I think it took me 140 hours.
Oh really? I
But
finished it on
yeah,
100 Royal, but it's because
okay,
I
pretty
already
good.
knew because I played Persona 5, the original Persona 5. So like in my head,
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
already knew
I
like all
did
the story
too.
bits and everything else. I'm like, okay, this, and was I streaming this one? I think I was. I don't remember, but I skipped the dialogue. One thing that pisses me off about Persona 5,
Oh, okay, makes
especially
sense.
Rojo,
Yeah.
it's like sometimes they repeat a thing like three times. We need to do
Yeah,
this, and
I
then
get
like
that.
we need to do this, and then they're like,
Mhm.
we need to do this. I'm like, well, why is this conversation a circle? They're like repeating the same thing.
Yeah,
So like,
I get you. And
yeah,
it's like, why does everyone have to say soming?
yeah,
Like, why do you
exactly.
all have to say
Yeah,
something?
like one or two people need to just shut up. There's just too many
I get
people
that
talking.
feeling.
No, yeah, so I hear that I'm like, oh man, I just need to skip it. But then like I stream it, and then people are like 6 months later, some dude comes and gives me a message. It's just like, you need to stop skipping the
The
dialogue,
dialogue or
and then
something.
somebody else was like, stop talking during dialogue, and I'm like, okay, look, listen, I'm playing this game for like the third or fourth time, so like I don't really want to sit down and like listen to the same dialogue like three or four times. Second, if you want to watch like a let's play, that like you're obviously gonna hear them talk and everything. That's what a let's play is, right? uh,
Mhm.
there are some where you can just watch a cutscene, with nobody talking. But
Yeah, like that
yeah,
Buff Meister, that guy, like he like makes those huge like persona movies, right? Like he literally
yeah,
just
right,
splices like
right,
the entire
exactly,
story together.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, if you wanna know the story, then go watch that. You're obviously watching the stream because you wanna like experience this with me, right? So like, I'm obviously gonna talk. What am I gonna just stay quiet and like don't say anything?
Yeah, like cuz that's the point of the stream is to like kind of talk with people, I feel, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's that connection with you and the audience and everything. So like, if you're not gonna talk or say anything, then why are you even like, like, what do you want to see?
Like why does it have to be live then? That's
Yeah,
the kind of thing. Like you could have just posted a video if you yeah, like a let's play video if you didn't want to like chat live with like someone. I
exactly,
totally get
exactly.
that.
Yeah, so like I was annoyed about those comments. I'm like, now did you mention streaming earlier? Do you also stream?
Oh yeah, I do. This past like month, I have not streamed as like often as like I normally used to, just because
Oh,
it's kind of busier around this time of year, I guess.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like, I do still try to stream on like Mondays. But yeah, I like mostly go through just like whatever I guess people want me to go through then and then I go to completion. So that's why like sometimes I'm streaming the same game for like 4 months because it's so long. And I'm just like, wow, we're finally done with like insert like Yakuza 0 and it was so good, but this took me like 4 months to finish, guys. Holy shit, you know?
Right,
Um
right.
yeah. I'm currently playing and like streaming the
Yeah.
Great Ace Attorney. It's my
Oh, are
first
those
Ace
games
Attorney
good?
game.
Well,
I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, like
how does
so
this game
far.
play? Honestly, I'm like, I see them and I'm like, that's cool, but I don't know how they play. So like, I'm really lazy. So like, I don't know. But tell me, what are these games like?
It's primarily like your typical VN style for the most part,
Oh,
but I
really
would say
is.
um
Oh,
it's kind of similar to like, have you played the nonary games
no,
at all? Like 999 or like Virtue's Last Reward at all?
no. What are those?
Oh, okay. I was thinking like it's kind of like those VNs, like the mystery, like case solving VNs, where, or maybe like, oh shoot, I haven't really played Danganronpa, but I feel
Oh,
like it's
kind of like
kind of
that. Oh, okay, okay.
similar.
Got you. I
Yeah, it's
got you.
kind of similar
I
where
see. I
you're
see.
like pointing and clicking sometimes to like
Ah.
examine something,
Oh.
and then later on there's like a trial.
So what's the story about? These games have stories, right?
Yeah, I'm only familiar because this is my first Ace Attorney
Uh huh.
game, so I only know like the what I've been playing so
Yeah,
far.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I will say like the story in Great Ace Attorney is like really good for like what I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think it would
Yeah.
be as connected because I thought it would be mostly just like you have
Solving mysteries or something like that, right?
yeah, like mysteries that aren't really like connected that
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Like it's just going from case to case to case with
Right,
like
right,
no
right.
connection. But I will say that like it's way more connected, like cohesive as like an entire like narrative than I thought it would be. So
Oh,
I've been
okay.
I've
That's
been
very
very like
interesting.
greatly surprised. It's been very enjoyable so far.
Nice. Are
Yeah.
you gonna be making a video about the series once you finish?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'll probably just do a video of like, yeah, my thoughts on it, especially coming from someone who like this is my entry point to Ace Attorney, and I think it was like a really, it's a very good starting point from,
Cool, cool.
yeah, as
Yeah,
in like I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like I didn't feel like kind of lost in the sense where you might think, oh, I probably should have played the other games kind of feeling. No, it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's totally fine to just like start from
Yeah, that's
this
always a bad
game.
feeling, right? When you start with the game, you're like, oh man, this kind of, I don't feel like this really did the job of like introducing you like a
Yeah, for
series or
sure. Like
something.
like that feeling of like I feel like I was kind of missing some.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Probably
Yeah,
needed to play like the earlier games or something. Yeah.
yeah, it's a terrible
So,
feeling.
so I recommend Great Ace Attorney.
Awesome,
It's
awesome.
just like, yeah.
I'll definitely try to see if I can check it out at some point. It's like it's been on my mind, but like right now I'm like, I have just many things to do, like games what like games that come out that I
Mm,
want to play and like things for the
yeah, as well,
channel and everything.
especially
So
because SMT5 is coming out so soon,
yeah,
so I totally understand. Yeah.
I'm on the grind right now. I'm like let's make as many videos as I possibly can.
Heck
I get like
yeah, for sure.
I get excited. I get excited and I'm like I just want to make a video because I'm thinking about it. So to me, I'm like, if I'm in the mood and I'm like, I'm right in the zone, I'm like, oh, definitely should make a video right now. That's why I always like to
Yeah, and
react to things, like when there's like a new trailer or something. I like to react to it because I like to share like my opinion on what I'm seeing. So
yeah, that's really cool. And like I know that a lot of other people like really like to do like really like to like they get in the hype too. So
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
they
yeah.
just want to watch as much content as they can,
Right, yeah,
like on
yeah.
it. So
Oh, yeah,
for
definitely.
sure.
I remember whenever I did. I usually do that too with the audience. Like I'll make a new game comes out, and I have like 6 or 7 videos planned for like that videos. Then I follow the hype and everything. And it's always funny because there's always like this like second wave of hype. Like people buy the game first week, right? So like I
Mhm.
like, but then there's some people that wait a few months or like wait a month or two. So you get like a second wave of like people that didn't immediately jump into it, but now they're like playing the game and everything. And it's always nice to like see all those comments of like new people and everything. But
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's like that word of mouth hype, like
Yeah,
the second wave. Like it's like the first wave is the day one people who are like
right.
already super huge fans of
Yeah,
like
like
the
they were ready
series.
to like play the
Yeah.
game from the like it was already a 10 out of 10 in their
Yeah.
mind before the
Yeah,
game even
like
came
they
out.
are the pre-order people, right? And then it's
Right.
like in like the 3 or 4 weeks after, when a lot of people have finished playing it and they're
Yeah.
talking about how like, man, this was such a good game, and then
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then other people are like, wow, the word of mouth is so good, I'm gonna get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly how it works. Lady got it right here. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. I get into hype every time that there's like new game. I get so excited, even if it's a game that I don't really play. Like I see the excitement and I get excited with everybody. Like Super Smash Bros. For example. I don't play Smash Bros. But I like everybody gets so
Mhm.
excited and I get excited too. I'm like, oh, like the new the new characters coming out. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But like I don't play Smash Bros. So I don't care.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I kind of get it in the sense where it's like whenever like a certain fandom or something is really excited or happy for something in their community or something, it's like even though I don't really play that game, I'm like, wow, it's so cool to see like this many people like so excited and like happy and hype. I'm just
Right?
like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm glad like people are so hype. Like it's
Yeah.
just cool to
Right.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice thing to see. Although I don't know, there's like the fan bases sometimes are kind of insane. Like Xbox and PlayStation and
Oh
Nintendo.
yeah.
I'm
Oh
like they
my
all are like all day. I'm like how do you have the time for this much hate? Like I just don't
I know for
understand.
sure. It's
Like
like at that point, I'm like, if you have this much time to like type out like these toxic comments, you could have been like playing another game at this point, you
right,
know?
exactly. Yeah, like well, what are you doing here? Go play your games. Or like why do you care the other people like the other one more? I don't get that. I'm like it's just a different game. Like I think people just want to feel rewarded that their game is good. Like, oh, my game
Yeah.
is good, so like people should think that my game is good because I think it's good. So it's a very primitive way to look at it, but I think that's literally how it is. They just want to think that
Yeah.
the thing is the best thing. So I'm like, I don't really understand that.
I know, like human minds are like so like it like interesting yet also so infuriating
Yeah,
sometimes.
right, right.
Uh,
Like I wish I could open you up and like see what's going on in there.
mhm.
Oh, that reminded me of uh, there is a TV show where there's like an eclipse and a bunch of people are working like superpowers. And there is this guy that is like the bad guy in the show, and he can take abilities from other people. But the way that he
Oh,
does it
shoot.
is that he opens them up and he looks at their brain to learn like their brain chemistry, and then he can emulate it. So he
Oh my
basically gets the
gosh.
power. So the more people he kills, the stronger he gets because he learns their superpower.
That's so like gruesome sounding way to like get the like ability though, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's funny because in that show there is another guy that can that can copy abilities, but he legit can just copy the ones within proximity. That's literally it. Like so
He
like
doesn't have to open up their
yeah,
brain.
he literally just has like the coolest ability, but he's like such an infuriating character. I'm like every time I'm like, oh man, and then the game has I'm sorry, the show has a time traveler
Mhm.
too, and the dude is like the coolest dude. Heroes, that's the name of the show. Heroes.
Oh, Heroes.
Yeah.
Wait, it dude, that sounds so familiar. That's like a I don't want to call it, it's not like an old show, but it's like an older show, right? Like it
Well,
came out like
a while ago,
a
yeah,
while
maybe.
ago.
I don't remember.
Interesting. Yeah, because it totally sounds familiar.
Is that
Let's just look
Heroes? Is that
it
what
up
it is?
really
Yeah,
quick.
yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember like
yeah.
seeing commercials
2006.
for this a lot. Yeah, like growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, that show was so intense, like I was telling you. And I was there were so many times that I was like, "Oh my god, this is so awesome!" This is honestly the closest to like an anime that I can think of done in the West of like the events and the
Like a live action anime without being a live action anime. That kind of thing.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Interesting.
It felt so anime in like so many ways, like kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is technically not an anime, but it
Hmm.
does have like a lot of the elements of anime, and it feels very
Yeah.
anime, kind of like that. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Oh, that sounds actually really cool.
yeah. I don't
Huh.
remember why we started talking about the show.
You know
uh,
what? I don't really remember either. I mean, I just like enjoy the. I tangent a lot too. So.
yeah, yeah, I'm terrible at it. One of my first podcasts that I did with Spencer from Shin Megami Tensei Network, and
Mhm.
he he tends to do the same thing I do, which is what we just did, and we just go on tangents, on and on and on, and oh, actually, it was my first podcast. I think my first podcast was like 4 almost 5 hours long, and we were just
Oh
talking,
my
talking, and
gosh.
talking. Kept on going on a tangent and everything. But it was such a good podcast to talk to. But I'm like, I know way would I ever listen to this. But holy shit, this was such a long time ago, and that was like also my first time talking to them, and I never like I before like a few weeks I never even heard of him. So like the way
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
like
that's kind of like right now, sort of, you know,
yeah, kind
in
of
a
like
way
this.
too. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
that's pretty
This
cool.
is what I like because this is like everything our conversation, everything. This is like not really the first conversation we have ever had. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I think it gives you like that. Uh, how to explain it? It's like it's a different experience, I guess, if you will. So I guess that
Yeah, it kind of
people can
seems
get to hear that.
more genuine
Yeah, exactly.
in a
Genuine.
way.
That's a great word.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, just like that.
yeah. Cool, cool.
Well, yeah. So thank you so much for coming into the Let's Talk Megaten podcast. Hopefully, we can have you again at some point in the channel. Oh, which I forgot to mention, I am doing a video of the kind of stuff that you do. So I wanted to see if you could like help me out a little bit with ideas or something.
Sure, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to, you know, like just, you know, like toss ideas back and forth, or like if you want someone to just kind of like throw like ideas at a kind like a sounding board, sort of, like I'm down for that too.
yeah.
Yeah,
Appreciate
because
it.
I think I really for a game that tries to like focus so much on like people, like what makes a character like them, like what makes them uniquely them and stuff, and like
Yeah.
psychology and
Hmm.
everything. Like I do really wish there was like more and more content on that side of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the persona stuff. At least for persona and
Because I feel
everything.
like there's so many
Yeah.
different ways to look at it. Like you can look at the philosophy of Persona 3, for example, or the psychology, or like like there's like so many facets to look at. There's so many references to so many things. The games like I know a lot of people like look at them like it's some dumb anime RPG with like when you date your teacher and whatever, right? But like
Mhm.
in besides the fact that it does have that stuff, there's a lot of thought and a lot of depth put into a lot of the stuff, especially the earlier games. They had like a lot of groundwork for like how the universe works and all the things they do, the Velvet Room and like all these different facets of the game. Like
Yeah.
there's so many layers to like to look at the game from like different perspectives and everything. So everything is feels really good. I think like the world building, if you will, is so well done in the series.
Yeah, I just want to comment on that really quick. Like one of the actual, like I remember I was talking about like YouTubers who kind of, I guess, like I watched their content, then I wanted to start my own channel. One of them was like, her name is Neneline. She doesn't really post that much, like
Mm,
in terms of Persona content anymore. Um, yeah, I can like type it out for you here. This
sure.
is her name, and she used to do like Persona content about like Persona 1, like it would include all like Persona 1 through Persona 5 kind of thing, like in one video kind of thing.
Oh,
And she would
interesting.
and like it was so interesting for to me to like hear her thoughts on like what happened to like, you know, certain stuff in Persona 2, like where are they now in Persona 3, 4 and 5, you know, like the whole like Philemon and stuff, that everything. And it was so interesting to see her talk about like Persona 1 and 2 and in relation to each other, and then also try to like connect everything
Yeah, it's so
because it's
interesting.
still one world. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's still all like the Persona and Shadows, it's all still like one thing. Well, I guess like they
yeah,
were technically still demons,
yeah. Well, I
like
mean,
in
besides
Persona 1. But
the labeling change on it, the thing is that when you look at Persona 1 and 2, they were obviously going for a little bit of a couple different things, but then Persona 3 really put the Jungian psychology thing like pretty cemented on it. It did have a lot of facets in the first two games. You know, like they have like the Arcana and like a lot of the stuff. But then Persona 3 really kind of like, okay, there's so much focus on the Arcana as like the social links or as the personas and like everything. There's like it really kind of focused more on the Jungian
yeah, it like
psychology.
really
Yeah,
amped it up,
exactly, exactly.
that part. Yeah,
Including using personas and shadows, which is like the self and like the two ways and everything. So like that right there, like that's like so much of Jungian psychology right there. You know, the shadow world or the the what do they call it? The meta. What is that? Meta?
for Persona 5,
Yeah, in Persona 5, what is it
the
called? The
metaverse.
metaverse, yeah. The
Yeah,
metaverse, like, that's like the collective unconscious, and like, that's like how, like, we're all connected and
yeah.
everything. So, like, there's like so many things that are taken from Jungian psychology, and I love all of that. Whenever I was studying that in school, and I was already a fan of Persona, I was like, holy shit, they took so much from that. I was intrigued
For
because I didn't
sure.
connect both of them until like much later. I was like, oh man, there's like so much of it, but it's really really cool. I like how like the games have evolved over time, uh, which I think is an interesting thing to think about because Atlas, well, for the Persona 5, the Persona theme, moved over to Studio Zero, which is a new studio. So there's
Yeah.
like a new director for Persona. So like I'm like thinking, I'm like, how much
Yeah.
is he gonna change from director to director? Because one guy can do things the one way, another guy can do two things. I mean, look at Persona 1 and 2, and then
For
Persona
sure.
3. There's a big jump in style and in everything. Right now, I'm not saying that it's gonna completely change, but having a different director means that something's gonna is gonna be bound to change, right? So
Yeah, for sure. I'm
yeah,
so interested to see, yeah, like what is gonna happen with like Persona 6.
yeah, like
Yeah.
like whatever the change is, it's gonna be something. Like it just have to be something because everybody like we were saying, like the perception sees things different, and everybody also has different ideas, things that they wanna do. Like I know some people, for example, have talked about they don't like the calendar system. They like everything, they just don't like the calendar system. So like they
Mm-hmm.
don't want a calendar system,
Makes sense.
or some people like want the game to be outside of Japan, or there's like everybody has like such
Yeah,
an
I
interesting
get
like
that.
ideas and things. I don't know, and I have done like videos on like, oh, this will be cool or something. Like I would like another girl protagonist, for example, and I'm like, oh, that would be cool if they had
Yeah, that would be so cool.
like we haven't had one in a while, and I feel like it would be cool to have another. Like even if it's like Persona 3 Portable, where you can play one or the other. Like it could be something like that because uh,
Hmm. I can see the argument for like having like a little changes in the route, but
mhm,
overall like a same route. But I do also see like I think I don't know, I don't want to assume on your part, but I
yeah,
was like wondering if maybe like when you say like you'd like to see another like female like protagonist, like having the game
yeah,
actually developed around with her as the protagonist in mind, right? So it's like
yes,
it's first and foremost for like her and not like this is just a female version, you
yeah, no,
know?
no, no, no,
Not
exactly,
yeah,
exactly, no, no, no,
I
no,
get what
no,
you
no,
mean.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, I 100%, I know exactly what you mean, and that's a big issue with a lot of RPGs. They literally it's just a sex change, right? That there's no change in story or anything like that. That's one thing
Yeah.
that I actually liked about Persona 3 Portable, because when you
Yeah, they
play
did
as
a
the
good
female,
job.
they give you such a different personality. Like the answers are different, the way she approaches people are different. Certain events happen
Yeah,
very
and the
different.
social links. Yeah, the social links were like different too, and I just loved how they handled that. They did a really good job considering that, you know, I know that it's visual novel style, so like they
Yeah,
didn't have to
yeah,
worry about like making like the models or anything,
yeah,
but it's just like considering that what it was only like 4 years apart, 3 years apart from each other. Like it was 3 years apart from I think Fez and
yeah.
Portable, right?
Uh,
Uh, I
Maybe.
think. I think
I
I think
think
it was
so.
like
Mm.
2007 and then 2010. I was just like, wow, this was all like such a good idea, and they did
Yeah,
such a
yeah.
good job with it.
No,
Yeah.
they really did. I really like it. So I think it's cool, and I know they can do good females. Like they can write good females. So I'm like, even if they just did a female protagonist, or like the only character female, not no sex sense or anything, that'll be cool too. Like every I'm open to like see different things if they try new things or something. I'm very open. I'm very curious how far they can take it. You know, like if they made it like an open world Persona game where you can literally walk to like every street in an area or something, I'll be down for that. I don't know. you
That'd
know.
be so interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Dang.
like I'm very curious, or like if they did a full hack and slash type of like DMC, like Devil May Cry, or like and like that kind of stuff. Like I'll be down for that too. Like if they did something crazy, I'll be interested to see how far they can take it. Although I know some people will be mad at.
I know, I know. I feel like it's always going to unfortunately like piss off some people, but I would hope and like assume that I think the majority of people who like play a series like they are able to accept like the changes that come
Yeah,
like
I guess it
as the
depends.
stuff. Yeah,
I guess it depends. I
hopefully.
think
I don't know.
people can be kind of picky, but no, I think I agree. Most of the people, the hardcore fans, even if they didn't like it too much, they still play it. Like there's a big debate about Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, and some people hate the game because it's different from the other Shin Megami Tensei games, and you see like even the people that hate it still play the game, like they still went and bought it and played it, so I respect that, like that's a different kind of thing, because like they literally played that game and they know why they didn't like it or something. Like it can tell me exact things why they don't, and I appreciate that. I think
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
mean, you're legitimately play the game, that's fine.
Yeah, it's like as long as they formed, I guess, their own opinion on it, like that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a difference between disliking something and actively just shitting on it, right? Like you can dislike whatever,
Yeah,
it
for
doesn't
sure.
matter, but
Mhm.
the moment you're like, oh, just on it all the time or something, like, oh man, just You gotta stop that.
Yeah, that's when it just gets like toxic, right? Because it's
Right,
like
right, right.
for sure, like anyone is allowed to like dislike or whatever, like even like hate something if like because that's their own personal taste. But it's like when you start throwing that in other people's faces all the time, then it's like then you're not allowing other people who might like it because you're just like shitting on it all the time.
Right,
So it's just like
exactly.
at that point, it's just like, please don't be toxic. And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it is cool. It is like cool to like definitely hear like, you know, some people really love certain games and other people like don't, clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody that has
Yeah,
come
thank
to
you for
listen to it.
having me.
And if you have anything else, guys, shoot her, follow her on. I guess where are you? YouTube? You stream on Twitch?
Mm-hmm.
As well, so
I
follow her
stream
on
on
Twitch.
Twitch too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the same name.
And you can follow her on Twitter too. All right.
Thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
Yeah,
And
thank you. It was very fun too. All right, see you guys.
yeah. See you guys.